Good morning all. So today we are going to see mammary gland, which is also called as breast. So we are going to see the mammary gland. Commonly it is called as breast also. Now what is mammary gland? It is the most important structure present in the pectoral region. So it is present in the pectoral region and most important structure. It is present bilaterally in both the sexes. Bilaterally in both the sexes, but it remains rudimentary in the male and immature female. Whereas in female it is well developed after puberty, and this becomes more marked during pregnancy and lactation. So it is present in both sexes, but it remains rudimentary in male and immature female. Whereas it is well developed in female after puberty and more well developed during pregnancy and lactation. Its shape varies in adult female. It may be hemispherical, it may be pendulous, or it may be conical in shape, but its circular base always remains constant. Now, mammary gland, basically it is a modified sweat gland. It is a modified sweat gland and it forms an accessory organ of the female reproductive system. What is its function? Its main function is to provide nutrition to the newborn baby in the form of milk. So this is just an introduction of the mammary gland. It is the most important structure present in the pectoral region, present bilaterally in both the sexes, but remains rudimentary in male and immature female, well developed in female after puberty, and more developed during pregnancy and lactation. Its shape may be hemispherical, pendulous, or conical, but circular base always remains constant. Now what is the breast? It is nothing but the modified sweat gland and it forms an accessory organ of female reproductive system. It provides nutrition to newborn baby in the form of milk. After this introduction, let us come to the situation and extent of the mammary gland. So we will see where the mammary gland is situated. Coming to the situation and extent. Mammary gland, it lies in the superficial fascia of the pectoral region. So let us go for the pectoral region. So this is the pectoral region, midline, and this is the clavicle. So mammary gland, it is situated in the superficial fascia of the pectoral region and vertically it extends from 2nd to the 6th rib. Vertically it extends from 2nd to the 6th rib, whereas horizontal extension is from the lateral border of sternum to mid axillary line. So mammary gland, it is situated in the superficial fascia of the pectoral region, extending vertically from 2nd rib to 6th rib and horizontally from the lateral border of sternum to the mid axillary line. The mammary gland, it is divided into 4 quadrants. So we can divide it into 4 quadrants. The 4 quadrants are upper medial, upper lateral, lower medial and lower lateral. From the upper lateral quadrant, a small extension which is called as axillary tail of Spence. It arises and it passes through the foramen of Langer, that is the foramen in the deep fascia, and comes to lie in the axilla. So from the upper and lateral quadrant, axillary tail of Spence, a small extension arises which is called as axillary tail of Spence. Axillary tail of Spence. It pierces the deep fascia through a foramen. That foramen it is called as foramen of Langer. So axillary tail of Spence pierces or passes through the foramen of Langer and comes to lie in the axilla. So this is the situation and extent of the mammary gland. Now coming to the next heading, that is the mammary bed. It is also called as deep relation of the mammary gland. Now the deep surface of the gland, it is related to certain structure which forms the mammary bed. The first structure which forms the mammary bed is the pectoral fascia. The breast lies on the deep fascia which covers the pectoralis major muscle. It is called as pectoral fascia. So for this we will go to the sagittal section of the mammary gland. So this is the nipple and this is the deep surface of the mammary gland. The breast lies on the pectoral fascia. So this is the pectoral fascia which covers the pectoralis major muscle. So this is pectoralis major muscle. The fascia covering the pectoralis major muscle, it is pectoral fascia, and this is the pectoralis major muscle. So the deep surface, it is coming in relation with pectoral fascia, which is nothing but the deep fascia covering the pectoralis major muscle. Now still deeper, deep to pectoral fascia, the mammary gland comes in relation with 3 muscles. These 3 muscles are pectoralis major muscle, serratus anterior muscle and external oblique muscle of abdomen. To see the relation of these muscles, we will go to the another view of the breast. So this is the pectoral region and this is the clavicle. Here lies the breast in the pectoral region. The 3 muscles we have seen are pectoralis major, serratus anterior and external oblique muscle of abdomen. In the medial 2/3, it is related to pectoralis major muscle which arises from the medial 2/3 of the clavicle, from anterior surface of manubrium and sternum, from the 2nd to the 6th costal cartilage, from the sternal end of 6th rib and the aponeurosis of external oblique muscle of abdomen, and then it goes to take insertion on the humerus. So this is pectoralis major muscle. In the lateral 1/3, it is related to serratus anterior muscle which arises by 8 digitation from the upper 8 ribs. So it arises from the upper 8 ribs by the 8 digitation and go to take insertion on the scapula along its medial border. In the inferomedial quadrant, it is related to external oblique muscle of abdomen, which arises by 8 fleshy slip from the lower 8 ribs, and the fibers run downward, forward and medially. Thus, breast is related to the 3 muscles: pectoralis major muscle in the medial 2/3, serratus anterior muscle in the lateral 1/3, and external oblique muscle of abdomen in the inferomedial quadrant. Now coming back to the sagittal section, the breast, it is related to the pectoral fascia, but it is separated from the pectoral fascia by means of a loose areolar tissue, by a space which is containing the loose areolar tissue, and this space, it is called as retromammary space. It is called as retromammary space. Because of the presence of this space of the loose areolar tissue, the normal breast can be moved freely over the pectoralis major muscle. So this is about the mammary bed. The deep surface of the mammary gland, it is related to pectoral fascia. Still deeper, it is related to 3 muscles: pectoralis major muscle, serratus anterior muscle and external oblique muscle of abdomen. Pectoral fascia, it is separated from the deep surface by means of retromammary space, and because of this, the normal breast can be moved freely over the pectoralis major muscle. Now coming to the structure of the breast. Structure of the breast. The structure of the breast can be easily and conveniently studied by dividing it into 3 headings: skin, parenchyma and stroma. So to study the structure of the breast, we have divided it into 3 headings: skin, parenchyma and stroma. Let us go to all one by one. So first, coming to the skin. The skin of the mammary gland, it covers the whole gland and it presents 2 important features, that is nipple and areola. So there are 2 important features present on the skin of the mammary gland, that are nipple and areola. Let us come to both the structures one by one. So first, coming to the nipple. Now nipple is nothing but a conical projection, and it is present just below the center of the breast at the level of 4th intercostal space. So nipple, to show, again we will go to the diagram of the pectoral region. So this is clavicle and this is mammary gland. So nipple, it is a conical projection. It is present just below the center of the breast at the level of 4th intercostal space. This is nipple. The nipple, it is pierced by 15 to 20 lactiferous duct, and it contains circular as well as longitudinal muscle fibers. What is the function of circular and longitudinal muscle fibers? So these fibers help to stiff the nipple and flatten it. Circular muscle, it erects the nipple for suckling, whereas longitudinal muscle, it helps in retraction of the nipple. Apart from it, the nipple also present some modified sweat gland as well as sebaceous gland, and finally it is rich in its nerve supply. So this is the nipple. It is a conical projection present just below the center of the mammary gland in the fourth intercostal space. It is pierced by 15 to 20 lactiferous duct. It contains circular and longitudinal muscle fibers which help in erection and retraction of the nipple respectively. It has modified sweat and sebaceous gland. It is rich in its nerve supply. Now coming to the other structure, that is the areola. Now areola, it is the pigmented circular area of skin around the base of the nipple. So this is the nipple. So this is the areola, which is the pigmented and circular area lying around the base of the nipple. Outer margin of the areola, this is the outer margin. So outer margin of the areola contains a number of modified sebaceous gland. So these are the modified sebaceous gland, and these get enlarged during pregnancy and lactation, and these are called as tubercles of Montgomery. These are called as tubercles of Montgomery. What is its function? Oily secretion of these glands provides protective lubricant to nipple and areola during lactation and thus prevent them from cracking. Apart from sebaceous gland, the areola also contains some sweat gland as well as accessory mammary gland. So it also contains some sweat gland. It also contains some accessory mammary gland. Then what is the special about the areola and nipple? The areola and nipple, skin of the areola and nipple is devoid of hair and there is no fat subjacent to it. So it is devoid of hair as well as it is devoid of fat, both the skin of areola and nipple. So this is the areola, which is circular pigmented area, bears the tubercles of Montgomery, also presents sweat gland, accessory mammary gland, and there are no hairs and no fat in the skin of areola and nipple. Now coming to the next part of the structure, that is parenchyma of the breast. The parenchyma of the breast, it is made up of glandular tissue which secretes the milk. The glandular tissue, it consists of 15 to 20 pyramidal lobes. These lobes, they are arranged in a radiating manner. To go for the structure of parenchyma, let us go to the sagittal section of the mammary gland. So this is the sagittal section and this is the deep aspect of the mammary gland. The 15 to 20 pyramidal lobes, they are arranged in a radiating manner. So these are the lobes of the mammary gland which are arranged in a radiating manner and they converge towards the areola. Each lobe, if we go for the structure of each lobe, so each lobe, if we see its magnified picture, it is a pyramidal lobe. Then each lobe, it is drained by a separate lactiferous duct and it is made up of cluster of alveoli. So each lobe, it is pyramidal in its shape. It is drained by separate lactiferous duct and it is made up of cluster of alveoli. So these are the alveoli. This is lactiferous duct and these are the alveoli and this is the pyramidal lobe. Each lactiferous duct, it converges towards the nipple, form the dilatation called as lactiferous sinus and finally open into the nipple. So each lactiferous duct, it converges towards the nipple, form a dilatation which is called as lactiferous sinus and finally open into it. This lactiferous sinus, the proper function of it is not known, but it may act as the reservoir of the milk. Now, the main secretion of this is the secretion of milk. Once the milk is secreted, its passage is necessary. So, the passage of milk from the alveoli into and along the duct, it is facilitated by the contraction of myoepitheliocytes, which are present around both alveoli as well as duct, and they are lying between the epithelium and the basement membrane. Yeah. So this is about the parenchyma, which is consisting of the glandular tissue. Glandular tissue consists of 15 to 20 pyramidal lobes. These lobes, they are arranged in a radiating manner, and each lobe we have seen it is drained by separate lactiferous duct and it is formed by the cluster of alveoli. These lactiferous duct, they converge towards the nipple, form the dilatation called as lactiferous sinus and opens finally into the nipple. So this is the dilatation. This is the dilatation called as lactiferous sinus. So here also we can label this as the pyramidal lobe and this as the lactiferous sinus. So this is about the parenchyma of the mammary gland. Now coming to the third part of the structure of the mammary gland, that is called as stroma. Stroma of the mammary gland. The stroma of the mammary gland, it is responsible for giving supporting framework to the gland. It forms the supporting framework of the gland. It is partly fibrous and partly fatty. So there is fibrous stroma and the fatty stroma. The fibrous stroma, it forms the septa known as suspensory ligament of Cooper. So this fibrous stroma, it forms the septa which anchor the skin and the parenchyma to the underlying pectoral fascia. Now we know that deep surface of the mammary gland, it is related to the pectoral fascia. The suspensory ligament, this fibrous stroma, it forms the septa. These are suspensory ligament of Cooper which anchor the skin and the parenchyma to the pectoral fascia. Then coming to the fatty stroma. Fatty stroma, it forms the main bulk of the gland and it is distributed all over the breast except beneath the nipple and areola. Clear? So this is about the stroma. There are two types, fibrous stroma and the fatty stroma. Fibrous stroma, it is responsible for formation of suspensory ligament of Cooper which anchor the skin and parenchyma to the underlying pectoral fascia, whereas fatty stroma, it forms the main bulk of the gland, distributed all over the breast except nipple and areola. Now coming to the structural differentiation. Now we have gone to the structure of the mammary gland. Now structural differentiation of the mammary gland varies with age, pregnancy and lactation. Now from birth to the prepubertal life, from the birth to prepubertal life, what is the structure of the mammary gland? There are presence of lactiferous duct without alveoli. There are presence of lactiferous ducts without alveoli. Then at puberty, there occur certain changes. The lactiferous duct which are present, they undergo branching, and peripheral branches form solid spheroidal masses of cell which are the precursors of alveoli. These changes occurs at puberty. Then further in pregnancy, there occurs further changes. The secreting alveoli, they get enlarged with accumulation of milk. So alveoli, they get enlarged with the accumulation of milk. Milk secreted in the later part of pregnancy and for a few days after parturition, it is known as colostrum. True milk secretion starts after a few days of parturition with the suckling of newborn. Then during lactation. During lactation, distended alveoli, they are lined by single layer of epithelium. Alveoli, they are already distended and they are lined by single layer of epithelium, and there are presence of myoepithelial cell in between the epithelium and the basement membrane. Then after lactation, what happens? After lactation, usually 6 months after the parturition, the alveoli, they get shrink. The alveoli which were initially distended due to accumulation of milk, they get shrink. Remaining milk, it get absorbed and the glandular tissue returns to the resting condition. Glandular tissue returns to its resting condition. So these are certain structural differentiation which occurs according to age, pregnancy and lactation. From birth to prepubertal life, there are presence of lactiferous duct but alveoli, they are not present. At puberty, alveoli, these ducts which are present, they undergo branching and form the precursors of alveoli. In pregnancy, the alveoli get enlarged with the accumulation of milk. Milk which is secreted in the later part of pregnancy, it is called as colostrum. True milk secretion starts after a few days of parturition with the suckling of newborn. During lactation, alveoli, distended alveoli, they are lined by single layer of epithelium and they are separated from the basement membrane by myoepithelial cells. After lactation, usually 6 months after the parturition, the alveoli get shrink, remaining milk get absorbed and glandular tissue returns to the resting condition. So this is all about the situation and the structure of mammary gland. Thank you.